guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk about pros and cons of renting and owning a home. Recently my husband and I had a house build. It's been a year now. It's been exactly a year, and so I wanted to do a house to home series where I talk about our experience of buying a house, and offer some tips, as well as do some room tours and decorating and shop with me and hauls and all types of things. So when we decided to buy a house, I was all over YouTube trying to find videos of people, you know, talking about their experience buying a house, which I absolutely love. I love watching first-time home buyers videos talking about, you know, this is their first house, and I get so happy just watching that, and I still do. But when I was looking for people, when we decided to go with new construction, I was trying to find videos talking about the process of new construction homes, and I didn't find that. I found people that said they bought new construction. They may have showed some pictures of the building process, but I don't recall seeing a video where they went from the time they sat down and picked a lot and just went from that point to closing. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people who are going through the process or thinking about it, or whether you're in the middle or even at the end. I just want to offer some type of tip, some type of insight of what we went through. So if you're going through the same thing, you know you're not by yourself. If you know, watching my video can give you some insight of what to expect. Okay, so anyway, I feel that when you are thinking about buying a house, you need to weigh your options. Sometimes it's best to wait. So you have to ask yourself, what are the pros and cons of renting? What are the pros and cons of owning? Should I continue to rent for a while, or should I just step out there and buy a house? Okay, so in this video, I want to talk about the pros and cons of both. And because there are pros with renting, believe it or not. But anyway, so I want to jump right into it. If you guys see me looking down, it's because I have my little notes jotted down. So anyway, let's start with renting. Okay, so the main pro, and this is all my opinion, what I think are pros and cons, and it's just some key points in there. There may be a ton of others, but these are what I have down. Okay, so the biggest pro of renting is no long-term commitment. If you are with a company that requires you to travel, requires you to be in certain cities for a certain amount of time, renting is a great option. Okay, you don't want to go and buy a house for a job assignment that you're just going to be there for 1, 2, maybe even 3 years. Also, it's good for if you went away to college and you didn't want to go back home, you wanted to stay, and now you're moving out of the dorms and you want to see if this city is really where you want to be. Renting is a great option. If you want to just travel and just, you don't know what you want to do, you don't know where you want to be long term, and you just want to travel around a bit, renting is the best option. There are so many leasing options. You have your 12-month, 9, 6, even 3-month leasing options. Just make sure you know which one you are signing up for. But in those instances, if you're not looking for a long-term commitment, you don't know really where you want to be as far as location, renting is your best option. Another pro is maintenance free. Now, outside of you cleaning and keeping your place up and making sure that, you know, you're not destroying carpet and the walls and things like that, when it comes to repairs, it's strictly on the management or the landlord or the rental company, whichever one you are dealing with. All you have to do is pick up the phone, make a call. Hey, I have a leak, or my dishwasher is broken, or the refrigerator's on the fritz, or you know, the HVAC system is messing up, whatever the case may be, it's no additional money out of your pocket, and you do not have to worry about fixing it yourself. That's what your rent covers. So that is definitely a big pro. Another is some places are all inclusive. So you can find a rental where you just pay one payment, that's your rent, and it covers all your utilities as well as your rent. So your water, your electric, your gas, whatever the case may be, is covered. Now in those rentals, a lot of times the rent tends to be higher, just because when you have multiple units, different people are using the utilities at a different rate. You may have a family over here, family of 3 or 4, of course they're going to use more water than you living by yourself. So the rent that everyone is paying has to accommodate and has to be able to cover everybody's utilities, okay? And so therefore they may have rent up a little higher than, say, if you went somewhere and it's not all inclusive. So keep that in mind. The cons. The biggest con is rent increase, okay? Rent goes up every year on average. I've only rented one place, which was the last place that we rented, and the first year the rent did not go up. Well, after the first year it didn't go up, but after that, yes, it did. Now, the reason why that's a problem is because, let's say, so for us, for example, my husband and I both, we get annual raises, okay? I also get an annual bonus. So great, right? Okay, so here we go. Our income is steady climbing, okay, every year. Well, guess what? The rent is steady climbing every year, right? So what happens is you end up breaking even, you know. Hopefully you are making enough, you know, hopefully your increase is enough to cover the increase in the rent. But the point is, you're not able to, unless your raise and your bonuses are just, you know, above and beyond. For the most part, it's gonna be very, very hard for you to save, you know, and to budget, because yeah, I'm getting this increase, but it's going right towards rent, you know. So when you are looking for a rental, it is very important to pay attention and to take into consideration the starting amount in rent. Now, I'm not sure what the average is, and I don't know if it's per state or city or jurisdiction or whatever as to how much they can raise your rent. I'm not 100% sure of that. The most our rent has ever gone up has been $50 a year. That's the most it has gone up. So make sure you are paying attention to that. You don't want to start off with rent that's already at your top tier. You know, is that okay? You, like, if you're saying, all right, I can afford up to $1,400. You don't want to start off, I mean, that's all well and good, but understand, after that first year, that rent may go up to $1,450. So just keep that in mind. Another con is decorating. Okay, it may not be a big deal to some people, but for some of us, our home is our home, whether you are renting or you're buying. When you come into your unit, whether it's apartment, condo, house, you want to feel at home. You want to feel like this is your space. You want it to represent you. You want to be comfortable. When you have friends and family over, you want everyone to be comfortable, and you want to feel happy in your space. So a lot of us want to paint. We want to hang up window treatments. We want to hang up shelves and pictures and things like that. And a lot of times in rentals, that is not allowed, or it is very limited. They're very strict with it. So painting, they may say you can't paint dark colors because it's very hard to cover later on. Or they will allow you to paint, but before you move out, at the end of your lease, you are responsible for painting it back to its original color, or they're going to charge you. A lot of rentals do not want you hanging up pictures. They don't want you putting holes in their wall, whether it's a little nail or whatever the case may be. They don't want it, okay? And a lot of people resort to those command strips, and please, I advise you to be careful with those, because command strips, I have had experiences where they do rip the drywall from the wall, okay? So another thing is strict rules. When the last place that we rented, they were townhomes, okay? There were 5 townhomes in each section. So there were 5 townhomes where we were, and across the street there were 5 townhomes. Over here was 5. So they clumped them in 5s. Okay, so we were the second to the end unit, right? Now, our rental office, they allowed you to have satellite dishes. Okay, so you can have satellite dishes, but you cannot have them in the front yards, okay? Because for aesthetic reasons, obviously. But because we were second to last, we were able to have our satellite dish installed at the end of the row next to the end unit. They had a satellite dish as well, so ours were side by side. For those who know anything or don't know about getting satellite cable, if I'm not mistaken, it has to have a clear view of the southern sky, I believe. So yeah, you just can't come out and put a satellite dish anywhere. It has to have a clear view of the northern or the southern sky. Anyway, so the townhomes that were in the center of the row, they could not have them, they couldn't put them in the back because they didn't have a clear view. So they didn't work, and we were not allowed to mount them on top of the houses. So they put them in the front yards. Now mind you, it was clear as day that you couldn't do that, but they did it anyway. The rental office made them remove them, okay? And they couldn't put them anywhere else because you were not allowed to attach them to the houses at all. The roof, the side, the front, whatever. You could not mount them to the house, and you couldn't have them in the front yard. So just think now, they've already signed a contract with, you know, Dish or DirecTV. So now they had to break those contracts and I guess go with Xfinity or whomever was the actual like local cable company where your cable is underground. So that's what I mean by very strict rules as far as renting. Now let's move into owning. The biggest pro with owning is a predictable monthly mortgage. That's if you have a fixed rate mortgage. There's what you call a fixed rate, and there's also an adjustable rate mortgage, and that's where your mortgage fluctuates. For the most part, I think it starts off very low. So I don't know, let's say your mortgage is $1,500, and then the following year it may go up to $1,800, and then, you know, just increase and then fluctuate depending on what the interest rate is at that time in the market. So for most of us, we do fixed rate mortgages. That's what we have, and so it's the same amount every month. It's predictable. You already know what it's going to be. The only thing that's fluctuating is your utilities and things like that. So back to when I was talking about when you're renting and how if you get a raise, how every year you get a raise, but every year your rent is going up. Well, when owning and you have a fixed rate mortgage, when you're getting your annual increases every year, guess what? Your mortgage is still here. You see, your mortgage is still here, but you're steady getting increases in your income. Therefore, you're able to put money to the side. You're able to buy and you know, buy other things. You're able to pay all of your bills, and let's say if you had an increase, you know, if you got some home improvement and you financed it, or if you want a new car, whatever the case may be, you have this extra income that's coming in that's not going towards an increase in your mortgage. Your mortgage is still here. Now let me say this: when we were approved for our mortgage and they were doing the estimation of, you know, what our mortgage was going to be with the taxes and all of that as far as escrow, they were doing the estimation, because until everything is surveyed, until they actually get the tax information from the township, the city, and all of that good stuff, they do an estimation of what is the custom tax in your area, school tax, all of that. So when they did ours, it was prorated, because when we closed, I think the taxes were due quarterly, so they were either already due and they prorated ours or whatever. But what happened was they gave an estimation. This is how much your monthly mortgage is going to be, which is including the taxes and all of that. Well, for the first 2 or 3 months we paid that, and then when the tax bill actually came, after they surveyed and did everything, the tax bill came, which our mortgage company takes care of it. All of that comes out of escrow. Come to find out, our mortgage was actually $100 cheaper. They overestimated, which was fine. It happens, because until everything comes in, they're basically estimating. So I'd rather they overestimate and say, hey, now you can keep $100 in your pocket, versus we underestimated and now you got to pay $100-$200 more than what we thought. So it worked out for us. Our mortgage ended up being $100 cheaper. Thank you, Lord. But yeah, for the most part, your mortgage is the same every month if you're dealing with a fixed rate mortgage. Home improvements. Okay, if you want to decorate, you want to paint a wall candy apple red, you want to do a bright sunshine yellow wall, you can do whatever you want. Painting, if you want to hang pictures, if you want to have a gallery wall, you want to hang shelves, you can do it, because it's your house. Now, I know of historical type homes, and maybe even some modern day homes. When you start tearing down walls and adding on to your house, you usually have to get a permit through your county, because it has to be up to code. Okay, when they're building these houses, these new construction homes, they have to get permits for everything. So yes, it's your house. I mean, they won't know until, God forbid, something happens and they have to come in and inspect, or you're trying to sell your house and the inspector comes in, they're like, hey, this is not up to code. Eventually it will get found out. Okay, so just make sure you are complying with your state, your county, your township, and all that good things. But for the most part, you can do whatever you want. It's your house. That's a pro. Another pro is building equity. So let's say I don't know, down the line, home improvements. Let's say your kids are going off to college. Let's say, God forbid, something happens and you become ill, or someone in your family becomes ill. They're unable to work, so that's less income coming in. The hospital bills are just outrageous. You can't afford them, and it's just really taking a toll on your household. You can take equity out of your house to cover all of these things. So if your kids are getting married, or if you're getting married, you can take equity out of your house to cover those things. So that's the pro. You are building equity in your house, whereas when you're renting and it's going towards someone else's equity and bank account and savings and things like that. This is for single family home owners. When you are buying a house and it's a townhouse or a condo, you're sharing a wall with someone. Okay, so we all been there. If you've ever rented, you know what it's like to share a wall with someone. So when you're buying a single family house, you have your own space. You're not sharing a wall. You have your own yard, and so that's a pro. You have your own privacy and space with a single family home. Another pro is refinancing. That could be a pro and a con depending on where you are and the interest rate and all of that good stuff. You can refinance and end up paying a lower mortgage, but just make sure you do your research before jumping out there and refinancing your home. Moving on with the cons. One of the big cons is HOA. Now, that could be a pro and a con. My husband and I, we look at it as a pro and a con. Pro in the sense of we like structure. And we have gone to open houses where the next door neighbor will have a whole freaking Christmas wonderland set up in their yard all year round. It's like July and they have their Christmas decorations like all in the yard. Or you have someone's yards looking like Sanford and Son. Well, with the HOA, there are rules where you cannot have this going on in your yard. You can't have cars that are broken down and you're repairing them, and you can't have all of that. So we like the structure that comes with that. But with HOA comes fees. So you have to take that into consideration. So that's a pro and a con. Another con is maintenance and repairs. When you own your own home, you are responsible for the maintenance and the repairs. There is no calling up the rental office or the maintenance man and saying, hey, this is broken, can you come out? No, it is on you. It is your responsibility. The last con that I have is neighborhood. Bad neighborhood, bad neighbors. You know, a lot of times you don't really know what you're getting yourself into until after you've been in there for a couple of months, and then you realize you have the neighbors from hell. You realize you live in a bad neighborhood. You know, there's a lot of traffic, or there's just so much going on. And unlike renting, you just can't pick up and move. You know, there's a process of selling your house and things like that. So, you know, do as much research as you can before buying the house, of the neighborhoods and things like that. But that is my list, guys. That is what I have for the pros and cons of renting and owning. I hope that you guys have learned something from this. If you haven't thought about it, you've taken into consideration, this list helped you think and kind of help you with your decision of whether you should rent or step out there and own. Thank you so much for watching. I do plan to come back with more videos with tips on home buying on top of our home buying journey. Thank you guys so much, and until next time, take care.